his inauguration, the President Tinubu in May at the Eagle Square, he made a pronouncement that his administration will ensure that food is available at a cheaper rate for farmers. So for 2 years now, have we achieved or 100% or 50% of this promise by the president?
Well, thank you very much. You know, when policy pronouncements are made, it sets the path for a vision. And the vision of the president, clearly put, is a Nigeria where no one goes to bed hungry. And so for us in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, we are taking this very, very seriously. We are not taking it very lightly. But let me also say this. We are not magicians. And the president did not promise anybody to be a magician. But the president has promised that he has come to give Nigerians renewed hope. And I think we need to put this in context. How does renewed hope work? I'll give you a very small example that everybody is familiar with. If, as a child, you go out to play and you come back home hungry, and you ask your younger ones, "Where is Mama?" And they tell you, "Mama is in the kitchen." What do you normally get? You have hope that food will soon be ready. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you relax. To my mind, at a larger scale, the president has done that for Nigeria. And, you know, even in the kitchen, not all the food comes out at the same time. Different components of the meal start coming out at different times until the meal is fully ready. And I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that we are going to do that. So let me come back to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. When you want to solve a problem, you need to know where you are. You also need to understand why we are where we are. We have done that, x-raying all the policy environment, the institutional setup and everything to understand where we are. And I think part of the problem is that our productivity is low. Now, because our productivity is low, the production volume will also be low. Why is this so? I think that should be the logical question to ask. And I think from our analysis, it is very obvious that first we have low yield because most of our varieties are not the high improved seed. So on that note, we have gone back to the table and we're doing something massively along that line. So I will point these issues out and begin to also tell you what we are doing, just to make it easy for Nigerians. Now, as far as the research institutes are concerned, they are supposed to be the engine of growth of the agricultural sector, because it is in the research institute that you produce the high yielding varieties that you need. It is the research institute that will breed the drought tolerant varieties that you need. It is the research institute that will also bring the short duration varieties that you need, because you know we are having the challenge of climate change. And so when you have the challenge of climate change, the rainy season is becoming shorter, and beyond that also drought. Sometimes you have some, during the rainy season, like it happened in the last rainy season 2024 2025, you realize there were some elements of spell. There were dry spell in some instances, and the survey by NARLS clearly told us that because of the improved varieties that farmers were encouraged to now start getting from the research institute, they were able to have varieties that withstood the dry spell. Those that did not use that did not survive, so they had more losses. That is the first one. The second one is that Mr. President has said, plant the right seed, feed an entire nation. So what we have done is to go back to our seed planning system, which has been moribund or even not operational. We've revived it. So the National Agricultural Seed Council, the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, the various research institutes, the National Varietal Release and Committee, all of them were activated so that the seed system planning can begin. What do I mean? For you to say you want to produce 10 million tons of a particular variety or crops, say maybe maize for example, if you say we are targeting 20 million, then we need to work backwards to know how much of the breeder seed do we need. That is now taking place, and the research institutes are now responding to that. But over and above that, they are also taking their breeding program more seriously. The challenge before had been that they don't have breeders. Now most of the institutes have been encouraged to go and get young Nigerians who will participate in the breeding program. In the case of Nihot, for example, which was the last place I visited on a working visit, they have up to 12 breeders now. And that is why they are able to release for the first time new varieties of pepper. They are able to release also a variety of tomato that is now resistant to Tuta absoluta. So that is what research does. So you can see that is in the works. Now, in terms of improved productivity, the other aspect, a critical one, is low mechanization. The level of our mechanization is so low because it is put at about 0.027 horsepower per hectare, which means basically we are just using manual. So Mr. President also realized that, and we've been working very well on mechanization program, to which we have 4 now. The Belarus, which already the tractors have started arriving. They are here in Abuja. I'm sure, I wouldn't know whether you have visited, but they are here in Abuja. The John Deere, that one is still being worked on. Then we also have the Greener Hope initiative, mechanization initiative, and then we also have the Great Imperative project that has been signed. That one already, the institutional framework for it is already taking place, and the whole idea is that we are working towards taking the Nigerian agricultural landscape to one that has low cost, because high cost of production means high product, and that is why food will be expensive. So we are hitting the key issues right where we should hit them. Now the other aspect is that quality, because it's not for you to have quantity, you should also have quality food. So how quality food is going to be produced also is the key focus of project like GIP, which we are already working on. But beyond that also, we have the Special Agro Processing Zone projects that is also being promoted by the ministry, and of course through the subnationals. And that explains why, as part of our strategy, because you talked about institutions, policy, programs, interventions, we believe we have to work with the subnationals. And this time around, for the first time, more than any other time, I think this ministry is working very well with the various state governments in various aspects of production. You remember the SAPZ was commissioned in Kaduna and River State, by the Vice President, and this is all to show that working together, collaboration, which this government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is promoting, is working very well. Now, the other aspect is that we also realize our farmers need to be skilled. They need to have enough capacity to be able to do agriculture, because agriculture is knowledge based. So within that context, we have initiated the National Electronic Extension Platform, which is being worked on now. And we just flagged it off to 10 Nigerians that we are working on this. So that is also in the work. The idea here is for us to make knowledge that farmers will need, information that farmers will need to successfully do their farming operations available, because we know there is shortage of manpower as far as extension delivery is concerned. The ratio is just unacceptable, and we are working hard with the electronic platform. We believe we can reach more people, and it is also having the provision for languages, so that farmers who don't understand English will be able to access information in their native language or even in pidgin. So that also is in the works. Now, the other aspect I would like to point out very clearly is that where do you do farm operations? You do it on land, which is soils. So as a mark of realizing that the productivity of farmers is tied to the productivity of the soil, we have come up with the National Farmer Soil Health Scheme, which is designed to help farmers understand the current nutritional status or nutrient status or health of their soil. That way, we can give them recommendation on specific fertilizers that they'll be using for the particular crop they want to plant. And this is being done along the ecosystem with all the stakeholders involved, and in particular, the fertilizer processors and blenders. They are very happy with this, because when you give somebody something that is specific and he sees the value, then he is able to go back to you and patronize you again. So it means with the Farmer Soil Health Care Scheme, which we are at a very advanced stage now, we are actually hoping that this will be launched anytime soon. I think that's what we are working on right now. And the idea here is that it will give a farmer a very comprehensive view of the land in which he's going to farm, what he needs to do, the kind of fertilization he needs to do, and how he's even supposed to even manage the water and the like. So all of this is part of what the Farmer Soil Health Scheme is going to achieve, and it's very significant because we are working with so many partners in line with what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed we do. We need more partners, we need more friends, we need more collaboration, and in it we are having many international bodies that are collaborating with us. Now, the other aspect is that in all of this, cooperative societies, Mr. President in his promise to Nigerians said he's going to look at cooperative societies, especially in agriculture. And I think farmer cooperatives globally represent more than 40% of cooperatives, and in Nigeria the same is true. So what are we doing? We're having currently a program in which we are revamping and reforming the cooperative sector. At the end of the day, we're going to focus on the regulation, which we are currently reviewing. We are also going to make sure that we are able to put in place that framework that will enable us to see what cooperative societies are doing and weed out those people who are taking undue advantage of the weakness of the system as it is to dupe Nigerians. Because with the cooperative sector, we can mobilize human capital, we can mobilize financial capital, and ensure that farmers are able to participate in the value chain from production, processing, marketing, and even consumption. So these are issues we are looking at. Now, in terms of areas of production, we also realize that there is challenge with farm infrastructure. So we're currently looking at the rural access, marketing information or marketing infrastructure under RAMP. And RAMP has recently been refunded, and this time around we are looking at critical areas that will align to the various programs that we are already having. The strategy this time around is that if we are having a massive investment or program somewhere, then the infrastructure around those areas must be supported in terms of the roads and marketing and other things. Now, overall, what is the underlying philosophy? The underlying philosophy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is simple. Don't just solve the problem immediately. Create a more enduring, sustainable, and resilient strategy that will make sure you never go back to where you're coming from. And that exactly is also what we're doing here. But remember, in terms of production, we have also agreed that the rainy season alone cannot produce food to feed the over 200 million Nigerians. So what are we doing? We're now promoting all year-round agricultural production system, in which case both the dry season and the intervening period between dry season and rainy season we'll all be witnessing production. So the National Agricultural Growth Scheme program is there. The Japanese, that is the NAX 2, is also coming on board. And most importantly, we are also having, for example, the same, Japanese, program that we are collaborating to upgrade our seed system in rice in the National Service Research Institute. So for me, what I want to say here is that yes, 2 years, what we have built is trying to clean, trying to reposition, while also solving the immediate problems. Because need I say that when we came on board as a result of the scarcity of food last year, or the cost of food, there were a lot of interventions where a lot of foods were given out, and many state governments were giving out this food, both from the reserve and from the one that were procured from the processors. So all of these are while solving the immediate problems to dampen the food price and come off. We are happy today because the food price compared to last year has come down. But is that where we want to be? Definitely no. And we are still working. We are doing our best to see that this coming rainy season, 2025, more work is going to be done, and at the end of the day, more farmers are able to go back to production. The challenges are there because we are not operating in a vacuum. We are operating within a global economy that is also challenged. But in spite of that, the financial engineering of the president is making sure that we are prioritizing, focusing on what is needed, that we add value, and ensure that Nigerians at the end of the day are able to see that improvement that they so badly desire.
Okay, sir, there is also an insinuation that the President Tinubu administration introduced innovations in the agriculture sector that no administration has ever done.
Insinuation?
Yes. I don't know if that insinuation or how true it is and what is made his own policies unique from other policies.
Well, the issue is, like I've said, President Bola Tinubu is interested in providing a permanent solution to any problem. And the best way you can do that is when you are innovative. So it's not an insinuation. This government has been very, very innovative. And that is why the government is taking the bull by the horn. Remember, some of the issues are like policy can, in which one administration comes in, kick it down the line, and say, okay, no, it will wait for another person. But he has taken from day one. You started with his inaugural speech when he said fuel subsidy is gone. I make it bold to say that if he had not taken that bold decision, maybe Nigeria will have just witnessed what they call drop dead. Something just dropping, boom, God forbid. And we are grateful for the president's courage. We are grateful for the president's vision and that patriotic zeal in him to say that no pain, no gain. I have to do this for Nigeria. And he has said it times without number. He's committed to seeing that Nigeria becomes a better place. And the policies so far, like you have said, are being introduced to make sure that happens. And I'll give you an example in our own sector. The cooperative sector that I talked about is a multi-trillion sector. Countries that are having vibrant cooperative societies are able to take a number of their citizens out of poverty. And so based on the renewed hope agenda, we are talking about economic growth and job creation, isn't it? Poverty eradication, job creation, inclusivity, isn't it? Food security, anti-corruption, and security. All of this, when you have a vibrant cooperative sector, all of this can be impacting on all of these areas. And he has made it very clear, and that's why we are working very hard to make sure that the reform and revamp of the cooperative sector is a reality. And I'm sure you know from the perspective, cooperative has been in the news now more than it has ever been before. That is part of the innovations. If you take the idea of the soil health that I talked about, It has never happened before. In fact, even in Africa, Nigeria is leading, because we're the country before we went to Kenya, where the declaration was made in 2024. We already had started since 2023 working to have the soil health gas scheme, and we've had several stakeholder meetings, some of which you are aware. And I believe these are all part of the innovations to ensure that while we are bringing succor to the current challenge that we met, we are providing very solid, innovative solutions to solve the problem. Another example here in the ministry is the Research Institute. I worked in the Research Institute sector. I was in the research management system, and I knew, as a matter of fact, that this is the first time after 40 years that the federal government will take a critical look at the National Agricultural Research Institute with a view to understanding where they are, what is their deficiencies in terms of their needs assessment and other things. This has been done by the National Agricultural Development Fund, and based on this now, they are developing a plan that will enable us to renew and revive the vibrancy of innovation taking place in our research institute system. Now, the other aspect I told you is the mechanization. Before now, all mechanization program is government has procured 2,000 tractors, and then politicians, people with connections will start lining up, and they are being allocated left, right, center. After some time, you look for the tractors, you don't see it. Meanwhile, the farmer who is actually needing it does not see it. What is different this time around is the fact that we are desirous of having mechanization service centers in all the 774 local governments, so that these tractors that are coming on board, there will be a hiring scheme where farmers can go and take, just for 2, 3, 4 hours that they need to plow their 2 hectares, 1 hectare, 3 hectares, or the like, because it's too expensive. Or those who are in cooperative, for example, can decide to buy one. All these schemes, that is what we are working on. Then beyond that also, before now, you will see tractors that are dead, dotted all over the place, no spare parts. The scheme we are having now is coming with spare parts, and it's also going to come with trained technicians who will be able to provide after sales service to consumers or users of these tractors. That is what is different. So it's not an insinuation. This government is truly being innovative. And I know, while I'm concentrating to speak on my own sector, I'm aware from reports in our various meetings at the Federal Executive Council of various innovations that are taking place across the entire sectors. Now, this speaks volume to what I've said earlier. The president is not just saying, let me do politics with these issues. No, he is saying, let's be real with Nigerians. Let's be very truthful. Let's be patriotic for Nigerians. What you will always ask, anything you are doing, is how is it going to affect Nigerians? In the agricultural sector, he will say, how is that going to protect our farmers? And what more do you need? Yes, in the past, we've talked about the Nigerian, force or Nigerian content, but he has also re-emphasized this in the last Executive Council meeting last week, Nigeria first, and he is also preparing, executive order on that. Now, the implication is that we should produce what we consume and consume what we produce. That is what we are focusing on. And I want to assure Nigerians that here in this sector, for the first time, as part of the innovation, we have been able to produce more wheat than we have ever produced in the past. And wheat production is now gaining ground, is gaining traction more than ever before, because of the sincerity of purpose in the program as we are implementing it. Now, beyond that also, the aspect of rice. We believe rice is becoming more of a national food, and I think we're doing so much to see how we can also transform rice production, processing, and marketing. Now, one other aspect is that Nigeria, for the past 20 or 30 years, has always been number 1 in cassava production. This ministry implemented what they call the root and tuber expansion program. We've expanded, but it's not adding value in terms of what we're making out of it. So right now the ministry has introduced what we call the Root and Tuber Industry and Export Development Program, RTID. And the idea here is for us to now focus on product development and targeting both local market and export market, because the non-oil sector must be supported as part of diversification of the Nigerian economy, and agriculture-led diversification is definitely a very top priority of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So let me say this: when you are guided by a very sound and profound philosophy, like I have expounded earlier, that the president believes in, while trying to solve the immediate problem, you must lay a solid foundation for what? A resolution of that same problem that you are providing quick wins and immediate fixes for, because he believes Nigeria is great and can be made greater if there is leadership commitment. And that leadership commitment he has provided, and we are in his cabinet to give him that total support to ensure that his promise to Nigerians of a renewed hope is not a mirage. And I believe we are doing our best, and the best is yet to come, because we are succeeding in many fronts, and definitely we are moving towards what we call food sovereignty, where we are guaranteed our food production from our effort in country, not dependent on anybody outside or any country outside.
Okay, sir. Under this administration, sir, two real sector they carved out from the ministry: the fishery and the livestock.
Yeah.
What is the wisdom behind this? And in the ministry, do you think it's a good decision of the president?
Absolutely. That is part of the innovative thinking. You see, sometimes when you are innovating, they will say think outside the box. But here what we even say now is think without the box, because the box itself is serving to hide certain facts that we're not seeing. So the president is spot on. Look at the value of the livestock industry. Look at the potential we have. We need to feed our population, and you cannot feed just crop, plant-based food. You need animal-based protein. That way you'll be able to complement and guarantee a good food security system. So with the various challenges, like Mr. President has said, of the farmer-herder clashes, he believes the livestock sector has not received a fair deal since independence, and he's doing this so that the livestock sector can receive massive personal attention, as it is currently getting in the Ministry of Livestock Development. Now for the fisheries, they've gone to the blue economy, marine and blue economy, and this is a new concept also, is a new innovation. The concept of a blue economy is real, and countries that have taken this concept very seriously are reaping the multiple billions that industry has. And mark you, it's an international industry, so transactions there are based on international currency, and so not taking advantage of it would have been a missed opportunity. And remember, Mr. President as a Lagosian understands the value of the ocean, the sea, and of course he has reclaimed the notorious Bar Beach, which we all remember. There are many children now who don't even know what used to happen those days, because he has provided a permanent solution. You understand? I think that is the knack, that is the kind of thinking that Mr. President has, and that is the kind of expectation Nigerians should begin to have of his government. And so within that context, the blue economy itself is going to take advantage. When they were here from the research system, I'm aware that Nigeria has more than 200 nautical miles of what they call the exclusive economic zone, and the exclusive economic zone has a lot of fish, tuna fish and many other kind of fish which we are not exploiting. People from other countries are coming to exploit our waters. So with the blue marine and blue economy, there will be a better focus on tapping all these, and our continental shelf. I'm aware that we have one of the most vibrant and very rich continental shelf, which is yet to be exploited. So these are all innovative thinkings, but it also speaks volume to the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who believes so much that if you want to benefit your citizens, what he's doing here, some benefit will begin to come on a more serious basis in the years to come, as we have witnessed in what he has done in Lagos. So to my mind, this is art, this is innovative. Remember also that the current flagship project is doing, the Sokoto Badagry and then the Lagos Calabar Coastal, all of them are innovative projects. In the case of the Sokoto Badagry, it was first muted by the Shagari administration, and I recalled presenting motions on this while I was in the Senate twice, in both the 8th and the 9th Assembly. And for the president to come on board with it now, that shows capacity, that shows patriotism, that shows innovation. And he is opening the western flank of this country that has been underutilized. In between this, agricultural corridor will be developed along that super highway. So these are all making sure that as the population explosion continues, we are also thinking about solution on how we are going to utilize our God-given natural resources. So overall for me, this government, truly, the president has said it, renewed hope is here, and I sincerely believe renewed hope is here.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.